All right, guys. So awesome to see everyone, and welcome to our Apiary live stream. So let me go ahead and get started. So as I said, welcome. And so my name is Julian Hernandez, and today I'm going to be meeting with the participants of our recent Apiary project and discuss the awesome project that they've done. If you don't know what the the Apiary is a project that gives students an opportunity to work as a team. It challenges them and they get to showcase real world projects in their portfolios. That's something really exclusive to practicum, and it's something that we really pride ourselves in. The students, they receive feedback from the people working in the industry. They'll also receive a letter of recommendation on LinkedIn from company representatives, mentors, apiary managers, designers, company representatives. They're all working with students and they get co-signed by them. And what's better than that? So the apiary team, it mimics the works of the environment of a professional and a remote team, just as closely as possible. And, working with real companies. Companies such as Iterative, Prime U, Dotcot, and robotics, and a lot more. So what do we have for you today? Today we have apiary participants. We have our students Shraddha, Devin, Sam, Yuffie, Wang, Nuria, Kyle, and Santiago. These are students I've worked with directly, and they are awesome, let me tell you. And they're going to present their app that they created as a canonical project for practicum software engineering US sprints 10 through 15. So from React, Node, and all the way down full stack project. We also have our friend Andre. Man, I'm going to butcher his last name, but he can get me later. Badfina, I'll try it. He's our project architect, and Alona. I'm not even going to try that one, Alona. I'm not even going to do that to you. Our project manager and practicum representative, as well as Sergey Zabondo. I tried it. I think that's it. And our apiary mentor, he's joined us today as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. You guys can stop hearing me ramble. But before we start, I'll remind you that you guys are all welcome to post your questions and comments, and I will address them later. You can post them there in the chat. So to go ahead and get started, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have an interview with one of our practicum representatives about the idea, and that is our dear friend Alona. So Alona, how are you doing this morning or evening, wherever it is down you are?
Yeah, it's close to evening. It's great. Yeah, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing awesome. Thanks a lot for joining us today. So we have a question for you. How did you get the idea of creating, this massive project for practicum? How did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question, although it might be quite evident for our students who are later on the program. Yeah, we have this sort of meme of the eternal around the US project. So the thing is, the curriculum was initially designed in a way where students would practice their skills in the context of one application, and in the long run, it didn't turn out quite like the best solution, and it took us some time to collect the feedback, analyze it, to study some approaches, to rearrange the project, as well as what else we did. We reviewed some market requirements before working on the new project. And when all of that was set up, we started working on a new project. Yeah, and after brainstorming the idea, the new concept was ready.
Awesome. Really awesome job there. And great idea too, really great idea. So as far as what the apiary project actually is, so what are the students asked to do really?
The production cycle for a curriculum project works this way. So before we can actually finish the project assignment and also set up some automated testing on the platform to save everyone's time, we need the ready code base. And if it's a project that's going to last for 6 sprints, it's a lot of code. And we realized we need a team for that. Yeah, so we need a ready project with ready front end and back end code, everything.
Gotcha. Okay. So so as far as from the student's perspective, what can they expect if, students that are here or someone that wants to join practicum, what would the apiary project look like?
So usually these are authentic projects from companies with users, but this time it was a project for our bootcamp. So it's not like some actual users are going to use it, but still like students were working on that with some idea of a real user in mind, and it's very, very great for us because when we start creating this project, like adapting the code in some ways to make it adhere with print contents, so this learning project is going to be based on an authentic project, and it's very, very good for education. But yeah, maybe Yulia, you can add something about Apiary projects if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. So basically, each time we invite a company which has a real need and a real project and real demand for something, and we create the environment so that our students can feel how it is actually to work in a web dev world with a team. But yeah, let's move back to Alona.
Awesome, Alona, awesome. So Alona, the students are about to show it. Are you excited?
I'm super thrilled, and I'm also like super proud because from what I've seen so far, it's been a lot of work. And I'm also very, very happy that like some work that our students have done is going to become a part of the program for future students to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I know I am excited as well. Awesome. Thanks so much, Alona, and thanks so much for, making this happen as well, being a part of that.
Thank you.
So as mentioned, we also have our friend Andre, and then, like I said, our friend Andre, I'm gonna stay on a first name. So Andre, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine. Actually, it's evening for me too. So yeah, I'm fine.
That's right. Awesome. So we know that you are, the mastermind behind this project. So again, we wanted to ask you as well, how'd you come up with this idea?
Well, actually, it was the result of a very tremendous teamwork. And yeah, Alona mentioned that we had a brainstorm. We actually had a real brainstorm session where we just collected all the ideas and we were discussing all the ideas that we had. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually. I mean, we wanted to create a project, we would combine different APIs. And yeah, we had just a lot of options. Okay, we have the weather API, but what would we combine it with? Yeah, and we had like millions of options like music, movies, clothes. So yeah, it was the result of a really great team effort.
Awesome. So what, in your opinion, makes this project interesting and engaging?
I think this idea of combining different APIs, different types of data, this is something that is really interesting. I mean, okay, you have the weather API, you can extract the data about the weather. Yeah, and you can see like millions of tutorials online about how to make the weather web application. But what if we combine it with something? And what if we create some kind of recommendation system based on that? So yeah, I think that the most interesting part is how you can combine different data, different APIs, and make user, like not the user, but make the system make decisions for user. Yeah, I think it's really fun. I'm not a big fan of this kind of applications, but I like seeing how they're done under the hood. Yeah, that's always interesting.
Right. Okay. So what would you say then? What's the most difficult part of the project? What would you most worried about?
When Danila, our designer, was preparing like different stages of design, and when he showed it to us, I was always like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, but I'm just afraid that that would be too difficult for the students, because I'm always trying to see from the perspective of the developer. And like when you see, okay, the beautiful design, but you start thinking, okay, how am I going to implement this? Yeah, for example, the forms, yeah, they were really difficult. And I think, yeah, the Apiary participants would agree on that. And yeah, and just for me, I think the most difficult part is combining front end and back end, because this is like always you feel like a surgeon combining different parts of something. Yeah, like sending the right requests, sending the right formats of data. Yeah, that's difficult. But I know that, yeah, Apiary participants successfully did it.
Awesome. So I have a feeling we're going to be very proud when we see it. Awesome. So thanks a lot, Andre. Really appreciate it. So of course, the students, they were not left alone. So as we mentioned, it is a pretty difficult project, and for that, it makes it really impressive. But they did have a mentor, and that is one of our dear tutors, Sergey. Sergey is with us today, and he's a tutor here at Practicum, and he's the mentor that has helped the students, actually create the project. So he spent the last 12 years, a little bit about Sergey, he spent the last 12 years working as a software engineer for a variety of different companies, both public and private sector, some of which those companies were EPAM, Siemens, Delivery Hero, and Shopify. And he's now works as an engineering manager at 16. So quite a decorated resume, our friend here, Sergey. So Sergey, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. So we have a first question for you. How did you become a mentor for Apiary projects?
Actually, this is a really good question. So I started my mentoring career many years ago in PAM systems. It was kind of not my initiative, but people were looking for a tutor who will help other people to understand their front end. And we started with the backend team. So there was a team of Java developers. They needed a front end guy who will just share with them their knowledge about the project. And this is what actually I started with. So I did this activity. I understood that, well, this is maybe my cup of tea. And if I really know and I can share my experience with other people, this is definitely what I should do. So my tutoring career is already 5 or 6 years old. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. A lot of experience. Awesome. And so out of all of that, what was your favorite part of working with the students?
This is a bit complicated, but well, try to understand me correct. I'm super happy. I'm shining when students make a mistake and fail, because in this case, they are starting to ask correct questions. Because before, if you share with them the right approach, the right solution, they will not understand why is it so. They will not understand like historical moments because of what these results, this approach will be the best one. When they fail, they understand like, okay, now we have a problem. Now we need to solve it. And as a team, they communicate between each other and they are looking for the solution together as a team. So now it's necessary for them, like, I'm pretty sure they separate in different, camps, and different camps providing different ideas and prove these ideas. So this is not only about your hard skill, like how perfect you're writing the code, but how can you sell this idea? What about your soft skills? This is challenging.
Right. Yeah, definitely a good mindset to be in, definitely. And so throughout this process, what areas of the development do you think our students were, what did they excel at? What were they good at?
I'm sorry, didn't catch your question. May I ask you to repeat?
Yeah, so throughout this web development process, what do you think the students were good at?
They're really good at creating templates. They're really good to build the architectural moments. On the front end side. What else? Because I can estimate only on the front end. I'm the front end developer. What else? They are super pixel perfect. So everything designer draw, they can realize in the life or super pixel perfect, and creates absolutely not transparent logic. So in the beginning, we provide them, we want to see this, and this. How can you create it? This is only up to you. They did it. They exceed our expectations. So I was impressed, literally. I was thinking that I will just say, well, okay, so the job is done. You're good. But I was impressed. Wow. So yeah, thank you, team.
Awesome. Great to hear from you. I know you're going to be proud. All right. So thank you, Sergey. Thank you.
Thanks.
So now is the moment we've all been waiting for. Now we're going to see the presentation by the students. So we've seen it hyped up. What did they actually create? So we're going to actually see the presentation. So here's so are you guys ready to start? Let's see what you guys have created.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Shraddha, and I welcome you all on behalf of our Apiary team in this presentation where we present you an exciting full-stack web app, What to Wear. Our team has been working really hard past 1 month to find out the solution to one of the biggest confusions of all times, I guess. What should we wear today? So before we start, I want to thank our mentors, Sergey and Andre, our web designer Danila, and our Apiary coordinator Yulia, for making this a very smooth experience for all of us. So we are a team of 8. Devin, Kyle, Wang, Sam, Santiago, Yufi, Nuria, and I, who will introduce you all with different features and functionalities of the web app. I'm really excited, aren't you? So What to Wear is a simple app that suggests a selection of outfits based on the weather forecast. A lot of work has been done, and I'm just passing it on to Nuria to share more about it. Over to you, Nuria.
Nuria, you're muted.
Sorry, didn't realize. Hi, my name is Nuria Ahmedova, and I'm going to talk about the technology stack that we use in our project. For front end, we used React, the most popular JavaScript library for building interactive web applications today, CSS for style, and BEM methodology. For back end, we use MongoDB, scalable, robust, open source NoSQL database, along with Node.js and Express framework. We deployed our project to Google Cloud together with Nginx, Certbird, and PM2 tools for maximum performance, stability, and security. And I'm gonna pass it on to Sam. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi, my name is Samantha Horsch. I'm a senior student at the Practicum Bootcamp, and let's go over the features. So first of all, this is, like Nuria said, it's an app created through React, and it's a two-page application. So we use the CSS to make it responsive, so it moves when the screen is smaller, and all the components move to the correct formation, and when it's bigger, it does that as well. Okay, some of the features it has. It actually gets your location from the browser, and it shows the current forecast weather and also the date. And this is if you allow the browser to your location. If it doesn't, it defaults to like New York, the day and the weather. There's also a toggle switch that you can toggle between Fahrenheit and Celsius. And when a user toggles it, the app retains the setting for future use, so it stays Fahrenheit or Celsius. And this app gives a general clothing recommendation according to the forecast, and also how many times a certain clothing shows up depends on what is liked and what it isn't. So when it's liked, it shows up more often than the other ones. Okay, so all of the users are allowed to register their own clothing garments of their choice, and all these clothing garments will show up on their profile, which is an organized place where their wardrobe is. It's organized into 4 different categories: accessories, top and outerwear, bottoms, and shoes. This is to make it easier just to not have too many categories, and it's easier to look at. And then there are options to change your password. If the user's that they don't want their password, they can change it by clicking the change password button, and that opens a modal to change it. And also the users are given the options to change their clothing preferences and also their profile data. Like they can change their name, they can change their avatar, and also the preferences they have in clothing. And of course, if the users no longer want to use the app, they can always delete their profile.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you. So I'm Huang. I'm going to talk about the backend of our project now. So there's a lot of technologies we use here. So we designed and created the REST API for the user and the clothing item using the Node.js runtime environment, the Express framework, and the MongoDB NoSQL database. So to create a connection between MongoDB and the Node.js runtime environment, we used the Mongoose library, and we created the Mongoose schema for user with keys such as email, password, name, avatar, temperature selection. For the clothing, we have keys like name, type, weather, image URL, like status. And then some of the controllers and rules for users are to let them sign up, log in, get the user, update their profile, clothing preferences, password, deleting user. For clothing item, we have for creating item, editing item, deleting them, and toggle the live status. For authentication, we use bcrypt to hash a new user's password when they register for an account before storing it in the database. When they try to log in, we also use bcrypt to compare their enter password with the password hash stored in the database. And if they successfully logs in, we use JSON web token to keep them logged in. For authorization, we created a middleware function to get the token from the user's request header and verified it. We use this middleware to protect the API rules. For data validation, we use the Celebrate middleware function that wraps the joy validation library, which is used to validate the body of user requests. For error handling and logging, we handle types of errors such as bad request, conflict, not found error, unauthorized errors. When there are errors, the server will create logs using the Winston logging library. Moreover, we also enable cross-origin resource sharing technology to allow the server to manage cross-domain request restrictions. Some other middleware functions that we also use in our app are Helmet, which secures our Express app by setting various HTTP headers, and Express rate limit, which limits repeated requests to the APIs and endpoints. Finally, testing. We did a lot of testing to make sure that the server works correctly. And one of the tools that we use to test the APIs is Postman. That's everything for the backend. Now I'm going to pass it to Strada to talk to you about how it works.
Thanks, Wang. So we'll have a brief look on how this entire app, what to wear, is working. So the moment user visits the web page, the browser checks user's location, where he is, and gets the current date for the day. We are doing using geolocation API, and it returns the latitude and longitude of the user. Then this information is sent to the weather API, and weather API sends the weather forecast and current data back to the browser. We have also worked on creating the what to wear API on using Express, running on MongoDB database. So this API now interacts with the web browser, which basically authorizes a user and sends required user information and preferences and clothing details to the browser. On the browser, there is a code that basically gets the recommendation of clothes, and that is shown on the web app in the real time. So to talk more about it, like how this clothing recommendation and the weather API works, I'll pass on the control to Yufi and Santiago.
Awesome. Thank you, Shraddha. So I'm going to briefly talk about how we manage the data and obtain the data from the weather API. So as Shraddha said, we obtained users' permission to share their location and their current time from the browser, and then sent that to the weather API. We used theweatherapi.com, which has 1 million free calls every month. And with that, the weather API sends us back the current weather and forecast weather. One thing to note is that the weather conditions from the weather API could be very verbose. So it could look something like thunderstorms, scattered thunderstorms. And there are 40 unique weather conditions, while we only had 7 major types of weather conditions for the weather card visuals. So to be able to display it beautifully, we had to do some data cleanup to narrow the 40 types down to 7. So then we applied the CSS modifiers with these 7 major types of weather, including sunny, rainy, cloudy, windy, sleet, and snowy. We also had CSS modifiers for the date and the night, and that is how we created the beautiful visuals you're going to see on the weather cards. And then we stored the temperature data in both Fahrenheit and Celsius in user context, and then use use context in React and pass it down to the rest of the app. All right, I'm going to pass it up to Santiago.
Hello, everyone. My name is Santiago, and I will speak about how did we make the clothing recommendations. What we did was we get the actual weather, so we can get the clothing items that are in the range of the weather on the actual moment. Then we collect all the preference from the user and all the clothing items and see if they are liked or not liked. With all this information, then we give the probabilities to each one of the cards. So if the clothing is in the preferences, is not in the preferences, and is not liked, the probability will be just 1. And then we will be adding more probability if the preferences, if it's in the preferences and it's not liked, if it's liked, etc. With all this information, then we will display the cards according with these probabilities. If there are no cards to display in any of the sections, what we do is we present a template image that will be displayed taking into account the weather in the actual moment. So if it's too hot, then we won't be recommending you in the template a coat, for example. Or if it's too cold, we won't be telling you to wear shorts. That's all for me. Passing on to Devin.
Hi everyone, my name is Devin, and I was the back-end team lead for this project. So this project was fairly ambitious considering relatively short deadline of just 4 weeks. And we knew that there would be many parts involved. So we actually took just 2 days just to plan and figure out how we'd go about building this entire thing. To ensure that we were all on the same page and just to establish standards for this project, our first step was to prepare a design document. And this would basically serve as a reference for the components, naming conventions, proposed variables and data types, code formatting standards, the back-end endpoints and schemas, and then everybody's favorite part, which is working with Git as a team. Since there were still many unknowns to deal with, each team member was encouraged to contribute to this document and just to share any kind of improvements that could be implemented along the way, because it was a learning process for us all. We also created a Trello board with tasks and ideas to implement. And this allowed us to keep track of who was working on what components and just the overall progress of the app. Now, as there were 8 of us working on the same repository, each member would work on a feature on his or her own branch. And then to ensure some accountability, each pull request would have to be reviewed by another team member before being merged to the development branch. And just as an extra layer of safety, we all merged to the development branch, which was later merged to main, just in case of any kind of hiccups or so on. And regarding our deployment process, so deployment is actually done to Google Cloud Platform using 10E2 micro virtual machine running Ubuntu, just because it was known for being lightweight, fast, and reliable. And then we also installed processes like PM2 to ensure continuous uptime of the app and for issuing security certificates. Now I'll hand you over to Kyle to talk about some of our challenges. Kyle?
Hello, my name's Kyle Highsmith. So like Devin said, I'd like to go over some of our challenges. So in general, one of the biggest challenges is working in a team across different time zones and different backgrounds for our team members. As Devin mentioned, assigning tasks on our Trello board helped us work through some of the common issues, as well as managing teammates' expectations and of course, deadlines. Now, some more specific problems on the front end, we're deciding on the weather API to use that would have a sufficient limit. Also designing the weather cards for different weather types and designing our mobile navigation. And finally, framing our logic to recommend our clothing items. On the back end, one problem we encountered was choosing what clothing data types to use. So although these problems had different solutions, the one thing in common was that communication helped us solve them. We use Slack to communicate and post our issues online and discuss these solutions together. So in the end, the most valuable resources for problem solving was pooling all our knowledge together and working on a team. Overall, it was a great collaborative effort by everyone.
All right, and now we get to the good part. We actually get to show this app that we've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. So let me switch over. All right, and here is the app. So just to save some time, I just reloaded it. So it actually gets my data, or I should say gets my location, and it gets the current temperature in my region. And that is displayed with our weather cards up here. The largest weather card usually indicates the current time period. So it's 12:45 p.m. and the current temperature conditions. You should know that this is just the logged out state of the app, but we can still do this temperature toggle. I can't read Fahrenheit, so I prefer Celsius. So it actually converts the app into Celsius for you here. You will see some blank cards here, and they do randomize, but these are just a formality. If you actually go to click on them, they will prompt you to log in. So this modal generally pops up and will give us options to register or log in. I just want to show you our registration process. Let's give Will an account here. All right, so as you can see, the form actually validates the data as it's being entered. Here, we could give him his name, which is required. We don't have to give him an avatar, but we will give him some clothing preferences. So he looks like a t-shirt, sneakers, and shorts kind of guy. And then we should register here. At this point, we get a notification that registration is complete and the app is logged in at this point. So for some reason, he has clothing, which probably shouldn't be here. As we reload the app. Yeah, and yeah, so at this point, this actually gives him his account here, and he can actually add clothing items based on this page. So generally, to add a clothing item, you can give it a name, and you could assign a type, and choose what weather you think it would be appropriate for. This is just an MVP, so we just use image URLs as opposed to actually uploading files, but that can be done as a future feature. And once we enter in the URL, it actually gives us a preview, and it would add the garment. Now, it doesn't necessarily show up here just because the weather conditions do not match. But when weather conditions do match, it should show up as a recommendation. Now, there aren't much items in this, so let me log out, and I will hand you over to Shraddha, who will walk us through an actual account that we have here.
Thank you, Devin. I could share my screen if it's sure. Thank you. Yep. So here we have an actual account we have created for Yulia. So as you could see, we have it just picks up my current location and temperature preferences, and just recommends few clothes based on the temperature here. We'll go to the profile. So if the user has already some wardrobe, like the clothing items added to it, so these all clothing items are basically categorized into 4 categories. You could see accessories, tops and outerwear, bottoms, and then you have shoes. Each clothing item, if you click on, you would see that they are related to a particular smaller types and then the temperature to which it belongs. In the profile component, in the profile page, you have additional functionalities for the logged in user. They can change their passwords, I mean, you have the error handling done here. As in when the user types, the form, the mode closes by clicking escape or click. You can check the profile data and it works perfectly. You could change your clothing preferences. Remember, like while the user was registering, they were supposed to give their clothing preferences, and these preferences are used for the clothing recommendation that is provided on the main page of the app. So you could very well change it and it will be updated. The user could log out. And if the user doesn't want to continue with the app, they can very well delete their profile. That we are not going to do right now. So if you click on any of the clothing items, you are basically taken to a modal that shows more detail about that particular clothing item. Like you could see the cap here and which category it belongs, which temperature it belongs. And you can go and edit the details that you have added when you were adding the garment. So it will take effect, could be changed. You could also like and unlike an item. That will be taken into account while recommending the clothing items for the user on the main page. The other thing that we have done is, depending on the preference of the temperature unit on this page, like entire app, wherever you see the temperature appearing that has been synced, like if you want to just add a new item, even in the drop downs, the temperature would show according to the unit selected by the user here. So I think that's all from our side and hope you all like it.
So just on behalf of the team, I think we just want to say thanks to Practicum for this opportunity. Thanks for this challenge. And just thanks to the team for all this hard work. This project actually was not as straightforward as we thought it would have been. And we had varying levels of experience across the team, but everybody still just pulled together, saw this as a big learning opportunity, and everybody was quick to help everybody out. And it was just amazing to see the whole thing come together in the end, because we actually brought this thing together like the day before we were supposed to present it. So, thanks to the team. Great job, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That was an awesome presentation. Looks like a lot of really good work there. We're going to talk to some other people and get their opinions on it, and then ask you guys some questions as well. Also, thank you to Julian for jumping in and hosting the first half. I'm going to jump in and take his spot, tag team out. Like I said, we're both the same dude. We just, change up our appearance to look like we are two different people. But really, in the heart, we're the same. So thank you, Julian. So going next on to, I believe, Aliana, is that correct? What did you think of the presentation and the project?
Wow, like I'm speechless. I haven't seen anything like that. Like my expectations, my expectations were high because I knew what to expect, but I didn't expect that. It was great. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. We hear that all the time. I mean, I know everyone here is kind of just a student, but the level of performance and the level of projects that they do is just always blows us away. So yeah, very good job to all the students here. Andre, what do you think? You think they did a good job?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I'm still shocked how you could do this really difficult project. And yeah, you did a really great team effort. Yeah, so, and I think this is the most valuable. Yeah, this is the great project. I can't stop playing around, actually. Yeah, just basically what I'm doing right now to give the stream, I'm playing around with the project. It's awesome. Yeah, you did a great job.
Cool. And then lastly, Serge, any final comments in there? I think you were the mentor, so if anything, this also reflects pretty well on you, right?
Well, true. So in the beginning, when we saw that just the design together with Andre, we thought that not everything might be implemented. Maybe something will be really complicated for the students and so on. So we had a literally huge list of optional features inside this application. So we said that, well, if you want to, guys, if you can implement it, it will be super cool, but we do not require it. And all these points were implemented. So somehow People found the time, they found wish, they found opportunities, and they implemented literally everything. So that's really cool. It was really challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting everything done on time is certainly amazing. That definitely doesn't always happen in the real world. So let's go talk to some of the students. I have a ton of questions here. I'm just gonna ask them out. Feel free to jump in if you have an answer. We do want to hear from everyone if we can. But first off, so how did you split the project between each other? I think I heard, Devin, you said you were focusing mostly on the back end. Did you split into 2 teams or just kind of let everyone move around?
Yeah, initially we had tried to get everybody to work on a feature or at least a part of the project that they want to be a part of. We didn't really want to silo anybody to specifically front end or specifically back end, but initially Huang and I were the ones who started building the back end. And then we kind of crossed over to the front end and more specifically to components that would interface directly with the back end. So, you know, just kind of had our tools and everything.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So I saw you guys were using Slack, obviously, and then using the Trello board. How did you manage that? Did you have someone create tasks for it and then assign them out, or did everyone sort of create tasks that they thought they would be doing?
Initially, we had, so I think Shraddha, she had gone through and created a bunch of tasks that we thought we definitely had to do. And then we started to break them down because we realized, like, you know, one task would be much bigger. So it would actually be several tasks involved in that. So we just started creating that. And then as we saw, you know, the need for more features going along, we just had, you know, each member add it as they saw fit.
Cool. Makes a lot of sense. I just want to say, I personally was super impressed. The workflow seems to really mimic like an actual work environment. I was just working this morning and I was updating the tasks on we don't have Trello board, but we use a Monday board, pretty much the same thing. And we have our work split between front end and back end engineers. So yeah, really good job, like mimicking an actual realistic workflow. I'm sure that was able to do a lot of work and help get all these things done on time. So a couple of you, I know Shraddha and Devin particularly, you've done Apiary projects before, maybe even worked together a little bit, or at least have heard of each other and stuff. Do you feel, you know, closer with your other teammates, and how do you feel about this experience compared to your previous ones?
It was great. I mean, it's always nice. I feel like whenever you get chance to work as part of Apiary or Code Labs or otherwise, you get to know people more as a person, like all the while you would just know names. You are working together for a month or so. So it's really nice. I would cherish the times. I actually was missing the time, like when the project was over, I was like, okay, there is nothing more to do but to take over. So yeah, it's great. And I'm sure like everybody else, even if it was their first experience, they would be liking it and they would have learned a lot.
Cool. Well, for one of those people this was their first Apiary project, what do you think was the most challenging part of this project? Any
well,
people?
I can go.
Yeah,
I can go for it. For me, it was the fact that I'm used to. Okay, I'm tackling the practicum course, and I do it by myself, and I send it. If I have questions, I ask. That's it. And then here I have to start to pull code from GitHub to make sure everything is up to date. Check if somebody else was doing another component, and it was, I mean, for me, was what I get out from this was that the teamwork and also the time management. And for that, I think that Devin and Shraddha, that they were our leaders, did an amazing job. At the beginning, it was like, okay, I'm doing this by myself, and they say, hey, Santiago, you okay? Come on, ask. Come on, more communication. And I feel like by the end of these 4 weeks, I was more like a teamwork kind of guy rather than I do this by myself, basically.
That's good to hear. That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of developers, we do start out relatively isolated, but once you get into the workforce, once you get going into those companies, yeah, teamwork is a huge part of our job. So it's really good to hear that we're embracing that in these projects. Another question I had was, where is it? I was just thinking about it. Okay, so we go through this course and we finish and we make our own side projects and stuff and participate here. And we kind of learn at what we're good at. But I think a project like this really forces us to go outside of our comfort zone and stuff. Did any of you find a section or something with coding in general that you want to work more on, whether it be the front end or the back end or a new library or some technology?
Speaking personally for myself, I was on Sprint 14 and haven't started the project yet when I was going through this project. So I only know half of the curriculum when it comes to the back end. And at first I was a little, I felt challenged and I wanted to do more, but ended up doing lots of more front end just because that's what I know. And when it was time for me to kind of jump to the back end, Devin walked me through a lot of code that they wrote on the back end and guided me through lots of things. And one funny thing was that I did not have the .env file for the longest time, and I was trying for 4 or 5 hours trying to connect both ends, just not knowing that you need to have the .env file. I must have missed the memo. Again, communication is important. So yeah, that was a really good experience. And even though I had not learned the Sprint 14 and 15 content yet, I still learned a lot with joy validation and connecting the front end and the back end with authentication. So it was a really good experience thanks to the teamwork and the team leads.
Cool. Yeah, very good to hear. And then I believe Hoang and Sam, this is also your first participation in the Apiary program. How do you think it went, and do you think it was more difficult or less difficult than your independent projects?
So I'm going to take this one. Yeah, this is my first Apiary, and I think the experience has been great. Like like throughout the program, we just work by ourselves on our independent projects, and this is a great chance for us to like work in an environment with a team. And I feel really blessed to like be working with such a professional and hardworking team, and the leaders as well, Strata and Devin. They really guide us through everything, and they work really hard to make the project really come alive right at the deadline. And yeah, I feel this is a really great experience, and I really appreciate it. And I've learned a lot of things. I think every practicum student maybe should really take chance like doing the Apiary project. I think it is as the final project, it's so much better than doing just independent projects.
Cool. Yeah, totally agree. It's a huge, definitely very useful project. And even just seeing how far it's come in the last year or so, or 2 years even. I remember one of the first Apiary projects compared to this were just, I don't know, the bar is set higher every time. So it's really cool to see. Let's see, I have a couple more questions here. So let's see, I will ask this to Sam if this is okay. Let's see, why did you decide to participate in Apiary? I guess is it mostly what Hoang was saying about just being useful for getting more experience and something like that? Or were you just looking to build more skills in a particular area?
I think I wanted to do it for like experience. And I was also thinking the time period where I'll be doing it, it was the break time. So I kind of wanted to like practice more of my skills. I definitely wanted to know the feeling of working with a team, because working independently is like, yeah, I like this. But when I work with a team, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much more with more people and different backgrounds and different coding knowledge. I think it was really fun. So it became something like, I want experience too. This is really fun. I don't care if it's for experience. I just really enjoy it. So
Cool. And then I am, as a developer as well, I work a lot with React and stuff on the front end, do a little bit of back end stuff too. But I just wanted to ask, we have two more, Kyle and Nuria. Is there a technology or framework or even just website that you use that you haven't used before and you thought was interesting, you know, something like that? Just throw me your thoughts.
I'll chime in. Well, actually, I had just finished the program, so I'd just gone through the React sprints. So it was nice getting to slightly revisit that and use some of the knowledge I had learned over the past about month or so. So I guess focusing more on React was a lot of fun.
Cool. And Nuria, any technology or anything you were introduced to and used this time?
Hi, yes. I enhance my React skills, especially when it comes to form validation, and what's the trickiest part I faced, the drop down, how to like read the data, how to update the data in a drop down. That was challenging.
Yeah, definitely. That is a huge, sort of a huge milestone. I remember going through that chapter as well. I don't remember it fondly, but I do remember going through that chapter. So, but anyway, it's good to see everyone learning new things, working together and stuff. I think that's pretty much all the questions I had answered or was answered during the presentation. That was an awesome presentation, by the way. Very robust, very robust, and very well done. So congratulations there as well. Do we have any other questions? I guess, Yulia, is there any questions from the audience or anything like that, or we're all good? Cool. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and wrap it here. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for coming and giving us your time. We super much appreciate it. Shraddha, Devin, Sam, Yufi, Hoang, Nuria, Kyle, and Santiago. Huge team of awesome developers. I was super impressed with your work. Like, no lie, I came in and saw your presentation and had not seen even a hint of it before today. So really awesome job. Great job with your workflow. Great job with what you were able to accomplish in these few weeks. Thank you, of course, to Serge for your time and expertise, like working with the team. Obviously, it helps so much to have an expert and someone to bounce questions off and ideas. Aliana, Practicum representative, Andre, thank you for architecting the project, putting it all together. Of course, it's much easier to work on a project when we have at least a little bit of ground to start off of. So super useful there as well. And of course, thank you everyone here. Thank you to Danila for creating the project, Kira for the Apiary cover, Livia for announcing the event, social media, all that sort of stuff, Yulia for organizing the stream again and the event as well. If you want to give us any feedback, please share your thoughts and comments in the Slack channel. We really do appreciate your feedback. These are large events, but made of a small team of students. So everyone's input is very much valued. We obviously use those going forward to make each one better than the last. So if you're ready to join the next Apiary program, next Apiary project, of course, contact your community manager. They'll let us know. We'll get some people together and hopefully get more students involved. Of course, this is after 10 sprints of the program, so a little over halfway. But yeah, we really appreciate your time again and appreciate your effort. It is awesome. So thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic day.